Hi, so good afternoon, everyone. I am Achal Verma, and I warmly welcome you all to the third episode of BITS Tech Innovation Series under the name Beyond the Thesis. In this series, it's an initiative of DST supported BITS Technology Enabling Center designed to empower academic researchers, innovators, PhD scholars, and startups to see beyond their research, to explore storytelling, innovation, and real world impact. So before we start our today's session, I'd like to ask our co-coordinator, Mr. Rajneesh Kumar, to introduce the center and the initiative.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us today for this next series of innovation series. And before we initiate this session, I just want to apprise you about BITS Technology Enabling Center. Those who already has joined our previous series, they know about what tech is doing. But for the new ones who have joined us today, we would like to tell them about BITS activities and what and why they should join BITS Technology Centers for different program and how they can be benefited. So BITS Technology Enabling Center is supported by Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. The whole mandate of this program is to spur innovation in the region of Rajasthan, and that's the region BITS Pilani has been interested with. However, we are open to share any of the expertise that we have across India, and any participants can join any of our programs from anywhere, any part of the Indian, from anywhere itself. So, as you know, the Technology Enabling Center with the mandate of spurring innovation is focuses on IP generation, how that IP can be protected. A lot of institutions are working on different innovation and research, and a lot of innovations are somehow are not getting protected, and they don't see the day of the light in terms of its commercialization and translation. Technology Enabling Center in a way helps sensitize, create an ecosystem where we bring in different stakeholders on a common platform. These stakeholders are MSMEs, startup companies, government policymakers, with whom we discuss on different themes, create some white papers that we share with DST, and DST take actions on it. And one of the very live example of this is the recent call on waste management and advanced manufacturing. And all these recommendations that on advanced manufacturing and waste management, it went from different TEC based on the recommendation from the ecosystem, academic partners, and startups. And DST immediately acted on it by launching the call. In the similar way, we do a lot of skilling programs. We do a lot of training programs for academic institutions, MSMEs, and startups, including incubators, to see how they can spur innovation in their own regions. We are open to partnership with any of the partner stakeholders who would like to work with us, and we would be happy to taking any of the questions in case you have at the end of it. With this, I hand over again to Achal to introduce today's guest, Robert Kocher.
Thank you, sir. Just a very quick reminder to our audience, e-certificates of participation will be awarded to attendees who actively participate in today's session. And those who have attended all 3 webinars of this series will receive a special mention certificate. They will be sent across next week. Our distinguished speaker for today is Robert Kotter, scientist, founder of 21 Skills, the number one educational platform for early career researchers, and a best-selling author. Robert brings a unique perspective at the intersection of science, communication, and entrepreneurship. Through his platform 21 Skills, he has helped thousands of early career researchers worldwide learn to communicate their research effectively, gain visibility, and build meaningful connections beyond academia. As an author and science communicator, Robert has consistently highlighted how storytelling, visuals, and framing can transform complex scientific ideas into narratives that resonate with policymakers, industries, and the general public. In today's session, he will also address a key challenge. Much of the advice about social media is not tailored to scientists and researchers. Robert will share how to approach digital communication strategically to amplify research, influence, and impact. His talk is titled Outreach, Impact, and Connection, the Power of Science Communication. Welcome to the Innovation Series, Robert. The screen is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. And first question, so we can get some activity in the webinar. Can everyone that's joining please write in the chat, are you foremost a researcher, an entrepreneur, or what's your role that you came here with today, so that I can get a quick overview. And if you have several roles like me, entrepreneur and scientist, then write them both. Okay, so we have a researcher, very good. PhD scholar, excellent. Research scholar, that's nice. Because the more I know who's in the audience today, the more I can tailor it to your needs. Excellent. And lots of scholars, innovators, excellent. Without much further ado, while you keep writing, I want to share my screen. I'm joining from Bonn, Germany at the moment. That's the former capital of the country before the reunification, and the science center still, because all the ministries are still here. So we will talk about science communication. Okay, what is science communication? It is a lot of things. It can be so many things that I decided we want to focus for today. So we want to talk about one aspect of science communication. You, as a scholar, as a PhD student, as an entrepreneur, reaching out to the world and telling the world about what you know. Not only the cutting edge research that you're doing, but also the basics, because you tend to forget that as a scientist, you know so much that's worth communicating, and people crave for deep insights, for knowledge, for science, for true facts in an age of disinformation and attention seeking. So it's about you sending out and changing the world, because I truly believe, and this is my mission, that science is the only way to get our world out of the mess it is in, from climate change or climate catastrophe to wars, poverty, famine, and so on. It's not by disinformation, but it's by sending real science out there and helping people making good choices. So I've been in the field for over 20 years now, since studying at university in Germany, in Japan. I'm a scholar in Buddhism, so I've been to India a lot to do research on the early stages of Buddhism before it went to China and then to Japan. But a lot has changed in science communication. For example, we have social media. This didn't exist 20 years ago. And it has changed the whole face of the place. There's an attack on science. This is like the last 10, 15 years, but it's getting more and more that right-wing groups, that political parties seek science as an enemy, because they know that education is leading to them being voted out. So Trump's America, but also other places that attack science. Journalism is different. Back in the day, the only chance to get outreach was to hope a journalist will pick up your topic. But journalism is not only in the hands of billionaires now a lot of times, but it is also a different business model because of the internet, because of social media, but also because of big money. And science is playing a major role on SciComm, even though it's not that visible. And my goal for today is to have you understand that by raising your voice, by talking a little bit about the things you care about and you love, you can change the feed of people, that they see more science instead of trash, that they understand things instead of being misinformed. All right, so that's what I want to do with you today. And for scientists in their careers, for early stage startups, for entrepreneurship, also for institutions, it's more and more important to do outreach, to convince the people why you were important, to tell your story, and to change the course of the world, so creating impact. The audiences that listen to science what are they interested in? Because sometimes you can get frustrated when you see what's happening on Instagram, what's happening on TikTok, and you feel this is all very superfluous, very easy to digest, monetizable content. But I truly believe, and I know this for a fact, that people are interested in more than this. But it has to be served in the right way. They want to be educated. They want to change policies, but they need science to understand what is the right change to actually have a positive impact on people's life. They need scientific literacy to understand how we work, how we deal with things, why sometimes science is slow and why it can also be super fast, like in tackling the coronavirus. And this leads to public awareness and understanding of the fundamental role of science. So this means secure funding for research, secure institutions, universities, and all these great aspects that my two presenters talked about in India and the rest of the world. And it also leads to funding and also a level of support online that you don't get. And which for me is really important, we are the steadfast counteraction against misinformation, against all these lies and debunked myths that politicians, that players who make money out of creating misinformation put out there. And of course, it's a way to collaborate and network with peers, with funders, with other startups across borders, across institutions. And actually, it's almost like magic. I mean, we really have to appreciate how easy it is to collaborate globally and to network with people from all backgrounds. And that's the beauty of science communication, that people see you and they react to you and they care about what you're doing. So there, of course, are risks, and I want to be very open about this because I work with a lot of researchers from all backgrounds, and there is a growing risk if you put yourself out there. So no impact without communication, but as soon as you create this impact, there's also a downside. Every coin has two sides, obviously. So we're talking about sensationalism. So you do research, you talk about it, and it gets reduced and generalized, and you don't feel it's you anymore, because people need education, but others try to use the great research results that are often really complex to make it easy and fit their own schemes. And then this results in flattening, and then we create very simple messages like if you witness the United States downfall in science, where debunked myths about autism and about pregnancy are used to create misinformation campaigns. So why is this the case? The goals of science are sometimes very different from the goals of individuals and institutions, of policymakers and of industry. So we are more about finding the truth, being very thorough, being repetitive in a way that we have a lot of review cycles, and then it can make it very hard to compete against the speed and the need for news in global societies. And there's also a third aspect, that we do tend to speak in a different code. The science language is tricky to understand. It's sometimes hard to talk about what you care about because people just don't understand it. So this is something we need to tackle, and I will give you some examples. As a little case study, when did I get the most attention, and I mean by far, as a scholar in Japanese Buddhism, talking about my research? Any guesses? Write it in the chat. Japanese Buddhism is not super interesting. Yeah, captions are activated, I hope. So any guesses about public interest in Japan in the last 20 years? There was only one day really, and this was the major tsunami in March 2011 when the Fukushima nuclear reactor was hit, and there was the world was on the brink of a catastrophe. This is the moment when everybody was interested in Japan, about my knowledge about Japan. Unfortunately, I found it that there's not like a direct demand. So that's why we will talk about how you create attention in an attention economy, talking about niche fields, about things people should care about, but they just don't. And then doing this from a humble perspective. So there's a lot of things we won't talk about today. We only have limited time. So for example, building relationships with journalists is still vital, it's still important. I won't touch on it today. Press releases, won't talk about it. Giving interviews, doing live streams, great topics. I chose to go a different way and try to teach you first steps to take as a scientist that are different from other people doing their first steps on social media to sell something or to talk about what they like. So what kind of topics work? Again, please write in the chat and share some ideas that, yeah, food, you know, is a great topic. People like to eat. So what are other things that are in science, from science, that people out there care about, that they start giving an interest, even though you actually want to give something more complicated across? So of course, it's things like funny things, simple things, Sonia, very good, that are easy to understand, where you go, aha. It's like yesterday I heard the talk of an astronomer, and he said that actually the rotation of the Earth is not 24 hours, but it's 23 hours and 56 minutes. Why? Because obviously the Earth is rotating not only around its axis, but around the sun. And then the 4 minutes are just the degrees in a 365 thing until the sun is at the same point. So it's a simple fact, but it blew my mind. And this is what people like. So you really want to look into your field and think about what are the general topics at work. People like conflict, people like solutions, people like health topics, people like things that make their life a little bit better. People want to smile a little bit. So there's very simple human principles. And if you find this in your topic, you can make any topic work. So I had a little example here. This is from very recent, from The Guardian, the British newspaper. So what do they write about in science? Scientists inflict karaoke on young volunteers to find out what makes us blush. So they think it's about performing, but the actual research, it's not about Mariah Carey directly or karaoke directly. I'll show you the research paper in a second. Other thing that I found on a large global news site, scientists set sights on asteroid larger than Eiffel Tower as it skims past Earth. So people like space topics, but then comparing the asteroid to the Eiffel Tower makes it really stand out. There's no mention of this in the And here to show you this Mariah Carey picture, but this is the actual paper published just a year ago, The Blushing Brain, Neural Substrates of Cheek Temperature Increase in Response to Self-Observation. So it's a pretty regular paper, but the take you go is everybody knows the situation. You're doing karaoke and need to blush because it's embarrassing. So the science is one thing, but the way you talk about it is a totally different, based in shared human emotions, in relatability. So the question, of course, is how can you craft your science story or your entrepreneurship story, your startup story for the world? Where you have to dig in and find the human relation that people actually care about. So the example from the paper, this is the main author. Blushing can come simply from being exposed. In that very short moment, you maybe don't think about how do I look and so on. I think it's more automatic than the theory says. So it's about simplifying complex concepts by using clear, jargon-free language. This is something that we have to work a lot on, because the scientific papers, the way you publish, even the presentations at a conference are way too complex, and we want to break it down, make it easy. Basically, this is what Sonia just said in the chat, make it simple, right? Second approach, so this is an example also I just found on The Guardian as well. Gold mine collection of wheat from 100 years ago may help feed the world, scientists say. So what we have as a key element here is what we call a hook, right? A hook is something where you grab the attention of the people, like a fisherman would catch the fish with something blinky, shiny, and then they can be reeled in to listen more. So first you write about help feed the world, a gold mine. You know, these are things that hook you, and then you give the significance in the second line. His research could be vital as the climate changes. So that's the significance, and then you show the relevance to us all. You know, why should we care? Because we are humans. So we listen to a personal story. Plant scientist Arthur Watkins launched a remarkable project. You know, now we're listening, and then we can take it from there. So you hook the audience, you show them the significance, you make it relevant to their own life. Or another example, you use analogies and metaphors, like the Eiffel Tower, right? So a mulleted, you know, a mullet is the certain hairstyle that was very popular in maybe 30 years ago in kind of redneck culture. So the mammoth is described as mulleted, called Chris Waddle. So it has a nice, funny name, helps scientists crack creatures' genetic code. So researchers built the genome named after ex-England footballer. It's a famous soccer player. So by creating a link between what you're actually doing and what people know, by making it relatable through something we know, or in Aristotle language, a metaphor is giving the thing, X, a name that belongs to something else, Y. So in this case, the mammoth is called Chris Waddle. It's basic rhetoric. So these are three ways to do it. And then here, a nice cute quote by the main scientist. It's not clear that it's exactly the hairdo the mammoth had while it was alive. And later it turned out the mammoth was female. So it has a male name, it has a mullet. It's not exactly true, but it's something where you catch the attention and make people understand what you're doing. All right? So these are three ways, and my advice to scientists is to, before you do outreach, before you talk to people, before you make them care, you think about little stepping stones. So it's like we are in the science world or in the entrepreneurship world, and we know what we're talking about when we're talking to peers. But when we're talking to people in the lay world, we have to go to a different continent. We have to make them understand our complex context, and otherwise they'll try to translate by themselves. So I like to create little stepping stones, like in the picture here, so that we can take them to our side and make them understand what we care about, to show them, you know, what a mammoth's DNA looks like, or what an asteroid looks like. And these are little stepping stones that make it easy for them to relate to the topic, to form a cognitive image of what we're talking about. So the basic thing is when you do outreach, should know what you want to achieve. Why are you doing outreach? To secure funding for your startup, to meet other PhD students, to find a postdoc position in the future, or to build a network of people that you can educate. This is all valid, but you have to know what you want to do. And by choosing, you also exclude a lot of things you don't want to talk about. And that makes your life so much easier, because obviously you have a lot, but you want to reduce it and have a clear message so that people say, you are the person always talking about science communication. You are the person who has a startup that does this. So I'm saying this because it's basically like in the US films, the Miranda warning. As soon as you start talking to the world, everything you say can be used against you. So there's a certain danger involved, and I want to be very, very clear about this. If you are not making conscious choices and don't have a strategy in place, what you say can be used against you. It's also there to showcase your genius and your knowledge, but there's again a downside to it. So in social media, when you do it actively, it's there, it's out there, but there might be also attacks on you. And I will talk about this briefly in a second. So of course, there's different ways. And again, it's good to know which way you like. Audio, like a podcast, a video platform like TikTok, a more text-based platform like LinkedIn, or if you enjoy the networking, writing comments more than actually posting, that's all fine. You have to know what you like, and you have to match it to what your audience likes. So if you have a certain message and a certain audience, you cannot only do what's good for you, but if you want to reach young people to come study at your institution and care about your topic, maybe TikTok is a better way to go than a text-based one, because the percentages are just on the side of video. So again, there's a lot of things that are super interesting, but we won't cover today. All the criticism of social media, very important. I'm not talking about it today. Secondly, how to write the content, how to take videos, how to create a podcast. That's the next step, but we don't have the time for it today. And I'm also not giving you an overview of social networks. Also, we'll just quickly start on creating a profile, but the growth part is quite tricky, and I'll just touch it on the side. So if you do social media, SciComm, science communication, or science-based entrepreneurship communication, there's a few things you should understand. As a PhD student, social media work is real work. It's not something your professor can put on you and say, hi, in your free time, you're a young person, you can do TikTok, please. It has to be credited as real work. It's really complex, and it's a skill that's actually paying. Like there's actually people who switch from science to doing communication outreach because it's a great job and it requires a lot of skills. So it's not something to just do on the side. As an estimate, I advise scholars, like PhD students, I know your life is really busy. I advise you to do like 2 to 4 hours per week outreach, but to plan it in your schedule. And it means you have 2 to 4 hours less for all the other work you have to do. You shouldn't put it on top. And then when you go out there and you have the time for it, you should know who you want to talk to, like really strategically. The narrower the audience, the better your message. So a lot of people go out there and say, wow, my topic is so great, I want to talk to everybody and inform them about it. Great plan, it's not going to work unless you've built a follower base of 1 million people and then you go viral all the time. The more niche your audience, the more detailed you know who you want to talk to. Young people in Rajasthan that are interested in engineering, that are between 16 and 18 years old and are doing this, if you can define it, then you can talk to them. And together with this, it's not only about going out there and shouting. So I always say scientists are used to like the blackboard on campus where they put their announcement and then people will read it. Social media doesn't work like this. The platforms don't work like this. They will only give you exposure if you play by the rules. And the rules are you have to engage, you have to interact, you have to show them that you are active and that you keep people on the platform. Because ultimately they make money by advertising. And if you are just posting on the blackboard and then leaving, they will not give you reach because you're hurting their business model. All right. So if you do 4 hours, half of it is content and the other half is engagement, talking to others, liking, commenting, asking questions, organizing stuff. And yet content is king or queen, obviously. So you need to know what you want to talk about. What is the stuff that you care? And for this, you need a brand strategy. So basically what I'm doing as a job is trying to leveraging the advantages that the big corporates have, like Coca-Cola or Tata. They have hundreds of people doing communication for them. And if you want to get level, you have to have access to the same strategies. So I'm teaching scientists that don't have the marketing power like a brand to create small personal brands with the same strategic frameworks, but in a more efficient way. So what you want to do is really develop your own social media strategy. I'll show you a little bit how it looks like. What we work with is this strategy canvas on the left side. When we start with an institution, with a startup, with an individual, you think about who are you for the world? What's your goal? Why do you do it? Who's your target audience? And on what platform can we reach them? And then when you know this on the left-hand side, you can think about content and value for users. And later, you can think about growth and other topics. But also, like Sonia just said, it's about being truthful. It's about doing the things that you care about and making social media a better place. And I believe that the platforms understand in the age of AI-generated content that actual, real, deep content that people learn from and that is truthful is one of the best things on the platform to keep people engaged. So what can you do today? And I said this before to Rajneesh when we talked about this, and Anshal and Varisha, that I really hope that if one of you goes out of this and thinks about, raising your voices and talking about the stuff you love and making a difference to the world, that we can create a positive impact. You start as one individual with little steps. People see this and interact with this and learn from this, and we can make the social media platforms a little bit more science-based, a little bit truth-based, and then I'm happy. So you want to ask yourself, like, what brand do I want to be? Like the PhD student who knows a lot about genetics and teaches young people in school why genetics are important and why we have to study this more. This could be a brand, or the startup that uses science knowledge about sports psychology and creates athletes that can have better competitions. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up, but this is something you really have to think about. This will change over time. After a few months, you will laugh about the first brand because it will change through the audience, through the interactions, but you have to start with the first understanding. It's like in science, you need a hypothesis. And then you answer truthfully, why do you want to do outreach? Why do you want to do social media? Is it for fame? That's fine. You just have to be truthful to yourself because people will understand it. And if you know this, then you can also plan your strategy accordingly. So thirdly, who is the audience that you're talking to? Why should they care? They don't know you. They're not waiting for you. Nobody's sitting there and waiting for a post from you to reach them, but you can make them care. And if they care, they will understand, oh, my life is better now that I get regular posts from Anupam about her science. So that's something you want to think about. And then lastly, where are they? What platform do they use? What area of the world are they from? Understand them, and then you can also give them content that they actually enjoy. So you want to spend time on this, and you want to iterate and test. And this is something where I believe we scientists have an edge, because we know how to iterate. This is how science works. Hypothesis, testing it, experimenting, getting the results, refining, changing directions. This is basically the scientific principle applied to communication. And Anupam, to your question, how can we reach the audiences? We have to find the very small edge between oversimplifying and too complex. That's very tricky, and this is trial and error. You will see, because what we have with social media is very good analytics. You will see what works. And mostly it's things that are simple enough to be understandable, but complex enough to make us think, to get comments, to get feedback on. So it's tricky, but I'm sure we can find the path. I'll show you some examples. So the question I get most from scientists who haven't done anything, how can we start? Because it feels so overwhelming. And you know, for example, on LinkedIn, this is my profile, and I started with 0 contacts. Now it's 17,000. But for me, I try to analyze, reverse engineer, how did I do it? I came up with a little step-by-step path that I think makes it easier for everyone out there. So at the beginning, my advice is just look, don't touch. So you go on the platform, like in a museum, you know, you look at what's out there and you just look at the content and look at it as a scientist. You're smart. You can analyze stuff. You know, what works? What are people doing? How are they doing it? Is it video? Is it PDFs on LinkedIn, like carousels? Or is it short texts? Or what I noticed is a lot of breaks between the lines because it's easier to read sentence by sentence and whole paragraphs like we do it in science. You just look. And then when you build it, they will come. So you start building your network. It's first, doesn't matter what platform, you just start following people. And there's a percentage of people who will follow you back. So you start with the people you know, the people in your field, the people who do great content, and you just connect to them. And soon you will see that you have grown from 0 to maybe 50 or maybe 60 followers. And that's great. You know, imagine 60 people that you can talk to at a party that are listening to you. I mean, that's great impact because you only need to make a valuable contribution to at least one person. Next step, ready to start engagement. This means you're still not doing anything. You're not posting. You're just liking stuff. So you're showing people that you care about what they do. And I think that's beautiful because it's basically paying other people a compliment, investing in their own communication. So if you like something, you let them know that you like it. First, only by pressing one button, and then by speaking up, by commenting on that. And it's important to understand the logic of the platforms. A like is like a currency. So if I post something and you like it, this is value for my post because it will get shown to more people. And if you write a comment under it, it's even more valuable and more people will see it. So a lot of scientists are very shy and they're like, I don't want to show myself at all. But just by commenting what you're actually thinking, if you think great post, you just write great post. If you think, oh, I have a question, you write the question. This is value for the other person. And this means once you start posting, they will also, with a certain likelihood, speak up for you. So you still haven't done anything. And after liking and commenting, you start sharing stuff. So your network will see that you're supplying them with value, with valuable content. I saw a great paper. I shared with my colleagues. I saw a call for papers for a conference. I shared with my network. They appreciate it because they want to go to this conference. And then you'll start putting yourself out there. You write your first post. You'll just write, today I'm thinking about this topic and I really like it because. And it doesn't matter because at the moment you haven't done anything. You shouldn't put too much thought in it because actually not many people will see it because you're still small. But you have to start a routine. Consistency is better than quality. So you just go and start after taking these steps. And then what you will see is, wow, it actually works. People like what I'm doing. It's really amazing for me when I go to a university. What happens very often is that people will say, oh, Robert, I read your post on LinkedIn. I really liked it. And I'm like, well, I didn't know you liked it because you never did anything, but they actually care about it. And that's really good to know. But like I said, two sides of the story. You're out there, it actually works. And if people challenge you online, this means you are actually big. People care about what you do and they attack you. It's actually a kind of twisted compliment, but you need to be prepared for this. So I put a lot of info on these slides that I will not read out. This is for afterwards. So you can get the slides, of course, and have a look at it. So seeking support is building a network of people who are on the same journey, who can support you if something bad happens. Okay. Choose your battles wisely. It means don't react to every negative comment. Think about, does it really make sense to answer now? Some things you can just ignore and they will blow over and nothing will happen. So there's more info on this. Personal learning, never reply when angry or upset. Leave some time, go for a breather, talk to a friend, and then you realize, oh, it wasn't how I read it. It was probably meant in a different way. It's much better to take some time. And then it's also good in preparation. You know, let's say it's a Saturday afternoon and there's a shitstorm on one of your social media posts. Who do you call? You know, the office is closed. There's nobody available. So you have to prepare for this by creating a list of like emergency contacts that you can call when something really bad is happening. Keep some things private. So this is unfortunately true. Scientists are more and more in the focus of bad actors on the internet, online. And so I really advise people, especially women, to be careful with personal data. You know, like there was this one researcher who took a picture on Instagram and you could see the street name behind her and the house number of her private house. And that's led to somebody stalking them. So, you know, you have to choose where your line is. However, again, two sides to every coin. The more private you are, the more people see you and know your opinions and share your private life, the more they follow you, because relatability is number one. So it's okay to keep some things private. It's your own choice, but you just have to know the more private you are, the more personal you are, the more attention you get, but also negative attention. So some techniques that these bad actors do online. So we have pigeon chess. It's like for scientists, we kind of think everyone we discuss with, they are interested in the discussion. But it's like playing chess with a pigeon. It's moving a piece, but it doesn't know that it's actually chess. It's just throwing everything on the ground. So as soon as you get the impression, all these questions, all these comments, they're not actually leading to a equal discussion, it's pigeon chess. Stop it, don't do it. Same with sea lining. It's like asking questions just to keep you busy and to ask for more evidence and more evidence to make you frustrated. This is something, you know, if people ask for the third time, yeah, but prove this, prove that, they might not actually be interested in an answer. They provocate you and bait you with saying, aren't you just giving a door for a big pharma to sell their products? Like, come on, you know, I'm doing research on solutions for patients at risk. This is not No, it's a bait. They want you to fight, to escalate. So don't take every bait there is. Whataboutism is very popular. Is you say something scientific, something really important, and they say, yeah, but what about electric cars? Like, we're not talking about this. So don't even fight about this. If this happens, just ignore it. And astroturfing, this is like bots, accounts, they come from all sides and they all ask the same question. It's not because it's an actual movement or an actual support. This is an effort to make you feel that you are the minority. But this is always good to remember. We in science, we have the only system that really works to create proper solutions. And this is not by just having 10 random accounts say, I care about this. There are better ways to evaluate what's really important. So let's do a little hands-on activity for yourselves. I mean, of course, that's voluntary, but what you can do is I would love to have you speak out to the world about what you know. So you can go on LinkedIn. So this is from just now. I looked on my feed, and this is a science platform for systems innovation. And they're just writing about water systems in Mexico City. So it was really interesting for me. It was something like, I don't know anything about it. I'm actually building in my home here in Bonn, I'm building a water storage. So I'm interested in a way, but I love if social media gives me a window into a topic that I don't know much or I care just a little about and I can learn more about it. So why don't you do it? Why don't you think about all the great knowledge you have in your field, what you learned in your bachelor, in your master? It doesn't have to be super abstract, but something that people would like to know. So second, you can create with Canva or another tool out there a share pic about your research. So a share pic is a picture where you write something and it's a picture and it's something that people like to share, because a lot of social media is about signaling, showing to others who you are. And if you create something like 3 fun facts about medicine, this is something people share because it's down to the point, it's innovative, it's a good idea. And think about what could be a share pic about your research. What could be something people would share to their friends and family, to their networks that you know. And these are the questions that I just mentioned. And think about metaphors, right? Aristotle, again, X equals Y. You do something really complicated, but how can you make it look like something easy? So another example from National Geographic, how do shells get their shape? So this is really complex science, but if you look at this, a lot of it is like envision this as a circle. So the mollusk is compared to a circle, right? Imagine a donut. Imagine gluing a stack of lopsided rings one on top of another, like the wedges in a stone archway. There's a lot of metaphor happening. And if you find metaphors from the real world that make your topic easy to understand, it's like a stepping stone for people to understand what. So a little bit about us at the end, what we offer for science, for institutions, for individuals is workshops on these topics, consulting, and we're the world leading e-learning provider for science. So with like topics that are made by scientists for scientists. This looks like this. So these are e-learnings that you can buy as an individual, but also as an institutional access. And yeah, if you want to know more, you can contact me. And again, I'd be happy to connect on LinkedIn, because this is where I talk about all the things that I care about and hope to make a little change in the world and bringing science to life. Thank you for your attention. I really appreciate your time. And there's still some minutes for questions and comments. So I'd appreciate if you just write in a chat if there's something on your mind that you want to talk about.
Thank you, Robert, for such a wonderful session and very crisply explaining how the communication need to be made in. First of all, I really like the idea of your presentation where very limited text and more of pictures, they by itself speak about what exactly you want to convey, and we can directly relate what exactly the context means by just looking into pictures as well. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
And now the platform is open for any questions.
So I'm sharing my contacts for everyone that's interested, and also my LinkedIn. Hang on a second. So Anupam, thanks for communicating in the session, and you wrote, can science communication be made part of the formal research process? In my opinion, it should, and a lot of institutions are actually doing this as part of their PhD programs, also part of tenure track programs. So what we've seen here in Europe a lot of times is that people actually get jobs in postdoc positions, PhD positions, and professor positions based also on their outreach. Because the university is looking for someone who is not only doing research, but also doing image transfer to the university. So if there's two equally suited candidates for a professorship, and the one person has 50,000 followers on LinkedIn or Instagram, they will prefer this person because this leads to the university being more visible. So I think that's a really big part, and this is what's happening right now. Any other questions?
Robert, one question from my side.
Yes.
In your presentation, you touch upon science journalism.
Yes.
And I really find it very interesting as an alternate career, which PhD scholars or even students with the same background would like to pursue.
Yes.
And this is something new, which I think with respect to India's context is more important, with a lot of funding support and the ecosystem, that the way it is growing. Science communication and science journalism has become quite important in terms of sharing what is happening in all the research labs,
Yes.
and how it could be connected to civil society to make them
Yes.
understand about institution. So do you want to share us one cent around it, and how a student can take advantage of this?
Yeah, I think for everyone out there, this is a phenomenal time in the history of science where you as a PhD student, as a master student, can just start a channel. You can start a LinkedIn live session series. You can start a YouTube channel. You can start a podcast. The technology is out there, and the people want to talk. So I've started a session where I just invite scientists to talk about their field. And at the beginning, I have to ask for people to do it, and very quickly they come to me and want my exposure. So it's something all of you can go out and start talking about what you care about, inviting people to talk about this. Start your own channel. Find the platform that you like and start doing journalist work. And this is the best entryway also for real positions, by just doing it, not only talking about it, listening about it, but just starting a channel where you inform people and you invite guests to talk about what they care about. There's a question from Mangal. The best way to approach me for collaboration. Oh yes, I write my email address again. Someone didn't come through. I can share my final screen as well. If you, Rajneesh, can I send you the slides as well, and you share it with all the participants?
Yes, please do share with us. We will, if it is open to share, we will share with the participants with your permission.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll send it to you, and then everybody has it, right? So that would be great, because I also believe in open science and in sharing these resources, so you can share it with your colleagues and educate others about this. I think it's really a great time to advocate for making science more powerful in outreach.
Robert,
if we have new ideas in research, yes?
Yeah, sorry for just a follow-up question.
Yes.
Are there any links or any website or available resources which student PhD scholars can reach out to just to have an initial understanding of science communication?
Yeah, I think what I would do is there's just great podcasts and videos on TED Talks, YouTube to first get an understanding. You can use AI, ask ChatGPT or Claude about science communication to get a first idea. And Arun, you asked a great question. The thing is, if you have great ideas, people will find them. That's the great thing about AI and the great thing about the platforms. You just have to put them out there, right? You can become a voice for the things that you care about just by talking about it. But you won't become a voice if nobody knows that you're talking about it, right? So it takes courage, but it's basically finding your message and putting it out there, and then they will come. So they will find you, they will listen to you, whether it's a podcast, whether it's one of the platforms, whether it's Substack or Medium. There's so many great platforms for publishing, and AI is crawling them all. So the information will get there if you make it understandable, if you make audiences care about it.
So,
Yeah, please.
So just a follow-up to your answer to that. Actually, there are few courses which are available for as far as the Indian context is concerned. There are certain fellowships by, say, AUSAR, which the Indian science PhD students as well as master students can contend for. And also then there is an Indian Science Communication Society, which offers a small capsule course, approximately part-time 1 year, say, and they can pursue all these skills in science journalism. Also, there's a World Federation of Science Journalists, which offers a free online course, which again the PhD students can take up if they are willing to in their free time. Yeah, these are some things I wanted to share.
Thanks, Bhavisha. Maybe we will try to share the links of these courses. If anyone is interested, they would like to pursue these courses. Yeah.
one last question in the chat box. If we have any new ideas and research, where can we publish and get recognized by experts? So one suggestion is ResearchGate. Robert, please elaborate a little more.
Platforms, Anupam mentioned ResearchGate, there's open access stuff, there's social media, there's Substack, blogging platforms, there's YouTube. So it's like I said, you find the medium that you like and that your audience is actually on, and then they will find you if you put it in a way that they care about it, right? So that's the magic.
So I think there are no further questions. In case we will get any further question, we will share that with you, Robert. And I would really like to thank you on the behalf of BITS Tech team from BITS Pilani for joining us today, and all the participants who have joined us across India for this session. I would also like to pay my gratitude to Department of Science and Technology for supporting this project. And we are definitely committed to take their mandate all across India, specifically in the region of Rajasthan, for which we are mandated to. So any of the organization who want to collaborate with us, please feel free to reach out to us. And Robert, thanks for such a wonderful session, and we look forward to having you again for another sessions, insightful sessions on other aspects, because I've seen that you cover variety of topics around science, career, and other things, and that is something we will take across. Before we end, we will just would take another 1 minute for the participants to take you across what BITS Tech is offering, so that you can relate and see what are those things which you would like to have from us, and we would love to talk to you. Actually.
Yes, sir. So as an introduction, so we are BITS Technology Enabling Center, supported by Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. One of the things that we offer is our hub, which is an advisory and mentoring platform for statutory and industry regulations, open for innovators, startups, and MSMEs. Then we have a couple of more resources developed for all the stakeholders, starting from technology readiness and investment readiness calculators, so that you have a basic idea how advanced your technology is and what could be the next steps. We also have developed other resources like Rajasthan Export Database and IP Dashboard, where you can explore for yourself which are the experts or guides that you can connect to, and what is the state of the art technology that is available with the academic institutions, so that you can either collaborate or if you're in industry, you can take it up, license it off for yourself. In addition to that, we are also developing a dashboard to connect to the industry experts as well. We also support IP services at BITS Tech for patent, design, and trademark.
Thank you all. Thank you for joining us today. And with this, we will close our session today. Thank you.